Hi, everybody. You have come to the right place. Welcome to the Good Leadership Breakfast. I am Chloe Radcliffe. I'm the Good Leadership Barista today, and my job as the barista is to whip up the buzz about good leadership and how goodness pays. So I'm here to encourage you to post on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, post all of your thoughts about today's meeting. We're going to start the breakfast officially in about 2 minutes. So use the next 2 minutes to use the chat to send us your name, where you're at in the world participating. And also, this is a time to grab a second device, your phone, an iPad, whatever, because we will be doing some polling today. So get your phone or your second device out and visit pollev.com/goodleadership or text good leadership to 22333 to join.
Most people agree the difference between surviving and thriving in business today is good leadership. But what exactly is good leadership? Good leadership is the art and science of people working together to create great results. You see it when leaders with good character multiply their impact with proven success habits. Great results happen when people work together and create a positive impact on their customers, colleagues, and their communities. Good Leadership is also a game-changing consulting firm headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Unlike other firms who coach individuals, Good Leadership coaches teams to exceed their goals, both personally and professionally. The firm's mission is to spread the idea goodness pays. What's goodness? Goodness in business is when people thrive together in a culture of encouragement, accountability, and positive teamwork. Good Leadership coaches accelerate alignment in teams during disruptive changes in the business. And they bring out the goodness in people with a proven process called the Goodness Pays Leadership System. It's worth your time to learn more because leading with goodness is confirmed by research to produce better business results. The secret is here in this exceptional book, How Goodness Pays. So if you want to explore new ways to produce better results faster, visit goodleadership.com.
Hello from New York City. Congratulations for investing in yourself as a good leader who radiates goodness. I'm Chloe Radcliffe. I'm your host and the Goodness Barista today, and I'm here to encourage you to spread goodness through social media and to participate in the interactive parts of this program. I'm so excited to be here this morning, and I am especially excited to toss it over to my good friend Paul Botts, the founder and creator of this event, a thought leader in the executive coaching industry whose firm, Good Leadership, is creating the category of executive team coaching. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, Chloe, it's great to see you. It looks like a really, really nice day in New York City. And even though it's springtime here in Minnesota, it's obvious that the pandemic, it tossed us out of the ballroom that we're so familiar with and into this TV studio for the 12th year of the Good Leadership Breakfast. You know, we miss the food and the camaraderie, but, you know, we're always looking for the goodness in everything. So the fact that today's online broadcast is beaming off to every corner of the United States is where there's goodness. We like this new model. And when we're meeting face-to-face again in 2022, I think you can count on the fact that we can also broadcast like this at the same time. It's just another way of spreading goodness, and I think that's exciting. If this is your first Good Leadership Breakfast, it all started as an impromptu gathering of leaders in January of 2010 during the depths of the Great Recession. A significant group of leaders who were, bruising by their souls were bruised by the economy. They were also motivated by the idea of getting together to discuss the question, do you still believe goodness pays? Well, that first discussion was compelling, and the program just kept growing from there. So now 8 times a year, we're feasting on a fabulous breakfast with live music by Benny Weinbeck Trio. And right up until COVID, we hosted more than 20,000 guests who contributed more than $335,000 for charities. It's really fun to see those reminders on the screen, isn't it, Chloe?
Yeah.
But now, we're creating new memories with leadership lessons from CEOs who are willing to share their success habits for the benefit of all of us. Today's meeting features Ray Kowalik, the CEO of the professional services firm Burns & McDonnell. His firm is also one of the most successful employee-owned companies in the world. He agreed to speak today because he believes in our mission to spread goodness through good leaders because goodness pays. He was featured in the Goodness Pays book that we wrote recently. We're specifically today building on the idea that good leadership is a team sport because like we saw in the opening video, goodness is when people thrive together. It's a team sport. So the theme of today's meeting is how accountability improves with the feeling of ownership. And Ray Kowalik is one of the most qualified leaders I know on this subject. Hi, Ray. Welcome. Will you please tell us, so what makes your job as the CEO of that firm so exciting?
Well, Paul, I think what you just described just seems like you're describing Burns and Mac. You know, we're a company that does incredible things for our society, huge projects. We make the world a better place to live and make our clients successful. And we have a team of 8,000 people doing that. And that collaboration is what makes us good at what we are and exciting for our opportunities for our people. I get really excited about the cool projects we do, but I get so excited at our teams and their success and the opportunities that brings them personally and professionally in their lives. And so what you're describing is exactly what we are.
We're so happy to have you here. I have to tell you that when we last talked, you described yourself as a corporate type during the week, but you also said you're into speed and the get your hands dirty kind of sports on the weekends. So what do you really mean by that?
Yeah, I've always been a little bit of a thrill seeker, and my wife and daughter luckily are too. So we really like to really go fast on the weekends. So we every weekend that we're out and about, we go boating and go over 100 miles an hour on the water every weekend. And we like fast cars, fast boats, like planes, anything that kind of gives us a little bit of a thrill seeking. We've always been so excited, but we're also we're really outdoorsy. So we like, golf and fishing, and wife and I went mushroom hunting last weekend just to get out and get away and get a little bit in the country and relax. So we kind of are self-doers, mow our own lawn. We just kind of like to really be non-corporate on the weekends.
Oh, that sounds terrific. I'm sure there are going to be people who want to know more about some of those things you just talked about. So we'll get a chance for everybody to send questions into Chloe here pretty soon. So
yeah, absolutely. I already wanted to hear more about that. The last time I was in a boat, I was going 5 miles an hour in a canoe. So we have different boating experiences. That's really fun. Yeah, I can't wait to get to the full interview with Ray in just a few minutes.
So building up to today's breakfast, we shared a one-question leadership survey through LinkedIn and other social media. Hey, Chloe, will you read us the question that we posed and show us the answers we collected?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, yes or no, the members of my team actively help each other succeed? And we received quite a few responses, and it looks like 90% said yes and 10% said no. Paul, can you talk a little bit about this question, where it comes from, and what those results mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that question comes from the Good Leadership Team Momentum Survey that we use with teams, and that measures alignment, commitment, and accountability of a team. This particular question's about accountability. It points to how team members think about how they deliver on their promises. I think it's really relevant right now because the workplace is opening up, and our good leadership coaches have been facilitating leadership alignment retreats again. The good old-fashioned kind where people actually, get together off-site. What you noticed during the pandemic is that teams have figured out how to keep themselves together, working from home over Zoom calls, mainly focusing on how to keep clients happy. Keeping a good attitude about adaptability was really important, and who knew that the word hybrid would become a term for how often we work from home? What's missing in the equation, though, is the catalytic additive energy of getting together to build something. So over Zoom calls, 2 + 2 = 4. And if we're lucky, maybe even 5. But after our first face-to-face retreat, where everybody was together in the same room, we rediscovered how 2 + 2 = 6, or maybe even 8 or 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the feeling of, I miss being in person at the breakfast, but what we are building here today also feels really exciting and feels like turning a new page.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So we have a follow-up polling question for today's audience to go deeper into this idea that goodness pays. Let's do that poll now. So as a reminder, use your other device, your phone, your iPad, whatever, and go to pollev.com/good leadership. or text good leadership to 22333 to enter the poll. If you're texting, you'll just have to text A or B to respond. So the question is, our company culture is based on the idea profitability is healthy for everyone in the business, not just owners and shareholders, yes or no? Paul, why do you ask this question?
Well, this basic concept goes beyond what we all learned in kindergarten about why sharing is important. In the research for the How Goodness Pays book, we discussed with leaders like Ray. We identified 5 specific goodness pays factors that help goodness pay financially. And number 1 is that the employees recognize their annual business plan as a compelling plan. And that means it generates excitement at every level in the culture. Number 2 was that employees recognize profitability as something that's healthy for everyone in the business, not just the owners or executive. So that's the direct connection to this poll. The other 3 are, number 3, a team-based culture where people feel like they win together. 4th is timely and transparent decision-making. That's where people in the business are getting the information they need to succeed when they need it. And 5 is magnetic ethics. In other words, the leaders at the top, they role model the behaviors they expect from everyone, and that helps them attract the best talent in their industry. So if I'm just going to summarize why we asked that question, it's that for goodness to pay financially for leaders, teams need plans that generate excitement. They need to feel like the decision-making is transparent, and they need to feel like they're going to win together, so no one's going to win at someone else's expense. And when they win, they all need to share in the success financially. It's pretty basic, but we don't see it all that often. So I'm really curious to see how our poll results come in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we have the poll results in front of us, and 95% said yes, and 5% said no. What does that tell you, Paul?
Well, it tells me that the people who follow the work that we do are like-minded with the philosophy that we share, and 95% is fantastic. But my heart aches for the 5%. I mean, even in organizations like government, where they don't do things like bonus pools, good leaders know how to make sure that when there's margin in the work that they do, that people understand that that's healthy for one another. It allows them to give each other compensation increases, to hire the best talent, and maybe even buy a pizza party on Friday afternoons. So, profitability is at the heart of this goodness concept, and that's why we ask these questions.
Yeah, it's so important to connect profitability and goodness, especially these days. All right, I'm excited to introduce our sponsor for today's breakfast. The growth of the Good Leadership Breakfast would, of course, not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. And today we're featuring our sponsor, Lockton. So let's hear what they have to say.
Hi, I'm Dan Hogan of the Lockton Companies. And on behalf of myself and my business partner, Grover Simpson, we want to welcome you to this morning's Good Leadership Breakfast series. At Lockton, we recognize the important qualities of good leaders. Those attributes are very important in steering any organization through today's tumultuous business environment. This morning's speaker, Ray Kowalik of Burns & McDonnell, is a great example of an individual that has those attributes and more. We're very glad to be a speaker so you can hear from leaders like Ray and understand what they're doing within their own organizations to lead from the front and be good people and leaders in the process. We hope you enjoy this breakfast, and I want to thank Paul and his excellent staff for their continued leadership and guidance through these difficult months that we've faced, and look forward to many more events in the future. So on behalf of Lockton, thank you very much, Paul, and thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Dan. It's great to hear from you in Kansas City. We really do appreciate Lockton's partnership with us. I also want to mention a special thank you to our new sponsors at the International Coaching Federation of Minnesota. We're honored that the best of the best executive coaches see this program as a valuable tool to improve their coaching. Welcome aboard. And now it's time to hear more from Ray Kowalik. Let's start by reminding our audience that you have the opportunity to send in your questions for Ray, which Chloe will curate, and she may ask your question of Ray sometime after the break. But first, let's watch a short video provided by Ray and his team at Burns & McDonnell.
We use the word best a lot around here. Best year ever. Best place to work. Best company to retire from. We throw the word best around a lot, but best isn't easy. It's taken a lot of grit, growth, lessons learned, and about 5 gazillion cups of coffee. You might ask, how'd we get here? Let's rewind and start at the beginning. Burns & Mac started with 2 engineers in 1898. Now, we're nearly 8,000 strong. For the math lovers out there, that's almost a 399,000% increase. Those 2 California engineers hopped on a train and headed to the middle of the Midwest, what some of you might call the middle of nowhere. Today, you'll find us living and working in 36 countries and 3,500 locations around the world. Heck, we even have an office in Hawaii. Our first major project was a water and light plant for a small town in the Sunflower State. You could say the project really shined a light on our client service, because they're still our client 121 years later. Client service is what we're all about, whether that's engineering the next highway, designing a power plant, building a pizza factory, because yeah, we're doing that, or preserving habitats for bats. Yep, we're doing that too. We are always ready to serve. And it's paid off, as now we support more than 16,000 projects around the world. 1986 was a big year. Top Gun was released in theaters, and we became an employee-owned company, which jump-started our incredible ownership culture and cushioned our retirement accounts. 2 years later, we made what we've been passionate about all along official, and formed our foundation to reflect our strong belief in corporate citizenship. Between the power of our foundation and generosity of employee owners, we've given a whole lot of dough, over $55 million, back to our communities. In '94, we burned that mortgage and became debt-free. Like everyone else, we survived Y2K, and the theme of this new millennium has been expansion. We've added to our Burns & Mac squad, making EPC 3 of the most important letters in our alphabet. Now we're at another inflection point in our firm, and like always, we stand ready to scratch and claw to make our clients successful. The story of Burns & Mac hasn't been without its ups and downs. We probably made employees wear neckties for far too many years, but we've created a legacy we are proud of and thankful for. So here's what we have learned and know to be true. Now is the best time to work at Burns & Mac. Let's keep adapting. Let's keep hustling. Let's keep growing. An even better best is yet to come.
Hey, well, that was fun. Seldom does a corporate video like that make me giggle, so that was awesome. So Ray, would you please share with us, what does it actually mean to you that Burns & McDonnell is an ESOP, an employee-owned company?
You talk about goodness, and the question about whether is profit a good thing or the right thing if you're an employee. And when you're an ESOP, which ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan, and it's a federally qualified retirement plan, so it has those benefits, but is also governed by the laws of a federal qualified retirement plan. But you have this melting of being an employee and an owner together in how you make decisions, how you help each other, how you collaborate, how you act as people. When everything you do is on behalf of yourself and each other, it really is an extremely, extremely powerful business model. And there's many business models out there that have ownership structures. So all of them have benefits. But I think ESOP has the most benefits. And that's, in our case, 100% of our employees are owners in our company. So they're really motivated, not just for the short term, but really motivated for the long term also.
Yeah, well, I know about that firsthand. A big influence on my career was when I was in the ESOP culture at a PR firm called Padilla, Spear, Beardsley. The values of financial transparency and exceptional client service that I learned there are now how we run our firm, Good Leadership, today. So a big thank you from me to the late John Beardsley and my favorite boss ever, Lynn Casey, and Padilla's new president, Matt Kuharski. They were the role models that taught me those values you just discussed. So it's obvious that the financial track record of Burns & McDonnell supports the basic premise of this breakfast. The theme today is about accountability. So in what ways do you see accountability alive in the culture at Burns & McDonnell?
I think accountability is the key to success in life and business. You have to be accountable to yourself and accountable to each other. And ESOP provides that, framework, I'll call it the foundation for that. But then how you act is really how defines how well you actually perform in that. And, we are accountable to each other, but we're also accountable to our shareholders and to our employees. And it's really difficult to measure things like accountability or collaboration. I think there's lagging indicators, client satisfaction and growth of your company. But the leading indicators are kind of hard to see. I watch and I ask lots of questions. I watch how our teams interact. I watch how they help each other. We actually made a strategic investment to do something called enterprise accounts. And those enterprise accounts, we measure how well we cross-sell for our other groups. And it's amazing how those customers and our cross-selling and different business lines now to have more opportunities at those same enterprise accounts. And when it doesn't benefit you, but it benefits the company when you do things like that. And it's things like who we promote, the actions and the types of people and how they acted in helping others that really, I think, define your culture, that's what you value. And in our company, we're accountable to each other, but we got to not create a culture where people will do things on behalf of themselves at the expense of others or the company. And, no organization is perfect, but it's something we strive for in our leadership team and what I look for when I promote people or put them into leadership positions.
So it never ceases to amaze me how people like you have so many different paths to get to the job of the CEO. So did you always want to be a CEO? Or if not, what was the path that you had to becoming one?
I've never been a person that kind of outlines where they want to go or what the steps I have to do to get to the next level. I'm pretty much a believer of living in the moment and doing the best you can at what you're doing at the current situation. I always wanted to be in a position of providing influence and in leadership. Whether that turned into the CEO position or not was not my ambition in life or goal in life. It was just my goal in life was to always make the organization better, make myself better, and help others succeed. And if that meant a promotion or didn't mean a promotion, that wasn't what motivated me. And it doesn't mean that I, didn't hope someday I might, become the CEO or running a part of our organization. But it's not something I worried about. I thought that if I just did the best I could and performed well, that my opportunities would come to me.
Well, I always love to hear that journey, and there's always pivot points in there we can maybe probe down for a little bit later. In some of the coaching that we do with our clients, when we first meet them, they're really fascinated by this idea that people are not really very accountable. So I'm curious to find out, in your idea, from your perspective, if we're not an ESOP company, and if we're not an engineering firm, what do you think people can learn about accountability from you?
Well, I think accountability is not something that you just do in the corporate world, right? You're accountable to your communities, you're accountable to your family, you're accountable to your health. And as soon as you go through life thinking that anything that happens to you is because of outside influences and not in your control, you're going to have a hard time being successful in life. So accountability is just something that should be ingrained in all of us to perform for ourselves, for our families, and for our companies. And I think the key in the corporate world is, how we're rewarding and measuring that accountability. You can create an environment where accountability creates collaboration, or you can create an environment where accountability can create silos. So how do you balance those two parts of accountability? Because if it's everybody's looking at I'm accountable for my results and I don't care about the rest of my organization, then you're going to have failures too. So how do you get that balance of accountability for the good of all. And so then to me, that becomes what kind of a reward system do you put in place for that, whether it's how you promote or whether it's how you compensate or how you bonus or whatever the case may be in your organization. The actions of how you make your company a better place, how do you reward the people that do that? And slowly, maybe fast, but slowly, generally, people start to follow the leadership styles of the people that they work for because they think that will get them to their next level. So it will happen. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen with time if you make all those right decisions.
Yeah, one of the basic concepts here is that we have to assume that people are always watching. They're watching who you promote. They're watching who gets rewarded. And over time, you get what you reward. So if I interviewed your executive team, what do you think they would tell me about how you lead that team?
Yeah, I'm a very much a authentic, genuine. I'm not a person that kind of runs around the edges of my conversations with people. And so I think that that's how they would describe me. I'm very much not a decision maker for them. I ask them a lot of questions, listen to their thought process, and kind of just say, you guys seem to have a really good handle on this, and good luck, right? You're going to make some good decisions if you're with that thought process. So I think they also describe me very much as a hands-off leader, because I'm very much a evaluator of the person and their leadership more so than their results. Hired a couple people from outside. I'm a big, huge believer of promoting from within. But when I've hired from the outside, I've made it very clear that I don't measure success in short windows. So I've said in the first year, I'm going to judge, how well you're communicating with your team, how well you're listening, how well you're formulating your thoughts about how to make the business better. Second year, I'm going to evaluate how well that's going, if we're heading in the right direction, measured by sales or turnover, or how's the organization moving. And then in the third year, I'm going to evaluate accountable that how's the business doing, because none of this happens quickly. And especially if you hire people from outside, they have to learn, they have to listen, they have to understand the people they work with. And if they don't, then they're not going to be genuine, authentic, accountable leaders. So, but you can't put that short window on people. I was one of my guys. In fact, he goes, I'm surprised you didn't call me. I had a bad month. And I go, I don't care what your month was. I want to know, where you're going long term. How's the year looking? How's 2 years from now looking? How's 5 years from now looking? He goes, I used to get a call every Monday if I didn't meet my numbers. And I said, that's pretty short-sighted.
Yeah, well, your perspective is consistent with the research we've done. We've seen that the highest performing, business unit leaders or C-level leaders, it takes 3 years to really understand the job. And so I just really appreciate that. I consider what you said there a success habit, and that's the kind of thing that we can share with other clients as we go forward. So I want to ask you about a different side of leadership. I've heard through the grapevine that one of your skills is that you really know how to pick people up, to lead with encouragement during disappointments. Can you share with us, what one of those disappointments might have looked like for Burns & McDonnell, and what did you do to pick people up?
Yeah, I think that's where you really find out about people is during times of when they're not so good and during disappointments. It's not when things are going great. And as a leader, it's when things don't go your way or like you wanted them to go, it's very disheartening. And you think that you've let down your team, and it's tough. But I think the difference really of a good leader is how you react to that, not internally but externally. And we've had some projects we were really counting on. We were going to build the airport here in Kansas City, which our team and all our employees were really excited about, and it didn't go our way. And it was tough, and lots of bad press and bad from some of our employees that I can't believe we didn't win our hometown job. And we just had to explain that sometimes the political influences are more important than making good decisions. and always lead with the motto that we're always going to do the right thing and deal with the consequences. And we did the right thing for the right reason with that project, but the outcome wasn't in our favor, and the consequence was we had a lot of disheartened people and disappointed people. And so I think then we have to say, well, it's good, and we learned from it, right? We learned what we did wrong, but we also learned, that the industry was craving that, and outcome from that, almost everything that's ever happened that was not positive in my life, a bad outcome, usually something much better came along. And soon after that project, we won some incredibly profitable, challenging, great projects that honestly we couldn't have done if we were working on that project, because it was such a large effort on our team. And so, it hurts, but if you do the right thing long term, it always pays off. And you just got to present that to your teams.
Well, thanks for explaining that. I really appreciate it. Well, one of the downsides to doing this breakfast in a TV studio is I have almost no control over the timing. And so we need to end this part of the interview, but we're going to hear from you again. So, hey, Chloe, I know you've been collecting questions that we can use with Ray here in just a couple of minutes. I'm sure we'll get back to that, 100 mile an hour in a boat thing. But now it's time for another poll, I think, right? Can you lead us into that?
It is, yeah, absolutely. So we have another poll question, and that question is, our team reviews progress against our plan on a consistent basis, yes or no? So go to your second device and answer that poll question. And while you're answering that, also, this is the last chance you have to chat your questions for Ray, and I'll pick a few of those to ask Ray later. So put any questions you have for Ray in the chat. Right now, it's my pleasure to announce today's Bucket of Goodwill contribution. The Bucket of Goodwill is one of the Good Leadership Breakfast's most important traditions. It's one of my favorites. And our partners at Handy Paint Pail are splitting a donation of $1,500 to both Crittenden Children's Center of Kansas City and the National Alliance of Mental Illness in Minnesota. So if you'd like to add to this donation, you'll see the website and the QR code on your screen. And Ray, will you tell us a little bit about why you chose these two charities?
Yeah, thank you guys, by the way, for doing that. I'm very appreciative. There's actually a lot of reasons why we chose mental health as what we call our charity of choice. So we do two charities a year that were specifically company-wide. One of those is United Way, and then the other one we call Charity of Choice. And what we've noticed during the last year is mental health has been a huge challenge. Just some anecdotal information is our spend on antidepressant and anxiety medications at our company have tripled in the last year. And we know that mental health, we discussed this earlier about being we're people that crave social interaction, being part of a tribe, common interests, that we haven't, as a society, done a very good job of that. We've been very divisive as a society in the last year, and mental health is a big part of that. So I appreciate that. It's going to be a big focus of ours this year, and that charity of choice, we've raised over $250,000 for those charities across the nation already this year, and this will go to that also. So thank you so much for your generosity.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Ray. And the Botts family has a very close relationship with this. My father died way too young. He was bipolar and schizophrenic, and so I really, really appreciate your support behind those things. And thanks to everyone in advance who also contributed along to this as well. Hey, Chloe, before we get to the poll results, what's the buzz that's brewing on social media from today's program?
Yeah, so we have Kathy, who is working remotely in Austin, Texas. We actually have a couple people from Texas. We have Lurleen from Houston, and we have John, who quoted one of Ray's comments: "Our leaders work not for themselves, but for the benefit of the company." That was on Twitter. So it sounds like people are really excited. And we have a couple people in the chat who are cheering for Ray. Brent says, "That's my CEO, proud to be a Burns & Mack employee owner." Yeah, so let's see. Do we have the poll responses? Yes, we do. All right, so for our team reviews progress against our plan on a consistent basis, 85% said yes and 15% said no. Paul, what do you take from that?
Well, once again, this is another question that comes from the Team Momentum Survey, and common sense would tell you that the only way the team can succeed is to review plans on a regular basis. I feel bad for that 15%, because A players, they don't actually want to be held accountable. Rather, they seek accountability because they're building something that they love, and that idea has really freed up a lot of leaders that we coach, and that allows them to focus on making the great things happen. But now let's get back to Ray. Hey, Chloe, I'm sure you've been collecting some interesting questions. So what questions can you get us started with for Ray?
Yeah. So the first question we have is, Ray, what is something you are personally focusing on for 2021?
Yeah, it's well, I would say 90% of my thoughts is what's our future work environment going to look like, right? It's you talk about divisive in society. There's a lot of divisiveness about working from home versus working from the office, how much of each and what that should look like in the future, and how to make a decision in an environment that works, right? It works for those people's careers, for the company, for our customers, for communities, and that's a huge focus. So it's been tough there. We've actually had incredible sales in the last 4 or 5 months. So from a business perspective, what we're really focusing on is execution, because we're extremely busy, and we need to really do a good job of executing our projects so that we take care of our customers like they're accustomed to.
I'm really glad you said that, Ray. I think what we've learned across our client base is that what you're thinking about is what most of our client CEOs are thinking about. What does back to work look like? What does that mean for our future? But also, how do we overcome the basic sloppiness that kind of happens when we're living and working this way? We're just not quite keeping up the way we used to. So I really appreciate that. Chloe, do you have another audience question?
Yeah, we have one last audience question, and that is, Ray, will you tell us about the boat that you went 100 miles an hour in?
Yeah, I love you. You better sit back if you want to hear me talk about boats, because I just love them from a technology and engineering perspective. I love them from the thrill seeker that I am. So the boat that I own, I have friends that have really fast boats that do 170, 180 miles an hour. Those actually spook me a little because you can die in them. But my boat has, it's called a cigarette boat, has two 1,100 horsepower engines in them, two big old turbocharged V8 engines, and that boat will go about 120 miles an hour. But very safely. I know that's hard for people to believe, but it's a boat designed for that speed. It's very well built and very well at self-correcting itself if you make mistakes. And so we enjoy doing that. And luckily, like I said, my whole family's the same way. So we enjoy doing that. In fact, picking up the boat tomorrow morning, and we'll be doing 100 tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I like things that are fast too. I'm just sorry we can't get to all the audience questions right now. However, after the breakfast today, I will continue this conversation with Ray, and we'll have the full interview available next week on the Goodness Pays Leadership podcast. So before we say goodbye to Ray, we always ask this one question of our speakers, and that question is this. So Ray, what evidence can you share with us that you know for sure that goodness pays for you in your leadership?
That's a very thought-provoking question, and I actually do my best thinking while I walk my dog, and I just sit there and think about that question of how do you know that the things you're doing and the way you act and what you believe in is actually working, and that it pays, right? I know it pays from self-gratification and fulfillment that you're doing the right thing, but how do you know that it actually works for business and works in life? And I think as I self-reflected on this, I thought about our leadership, and I thought about the people that are the ones that are good people, that are good spouses, that are good friends, that are good to your communities, that are charitable. they are the same great leaders in your organization. They're the people that really worry about their employees, worry about their customers, think about others before themselves. And that attitude is those skills are no different whether you're in life or in the business. And you see that those people have just incredible success. People follow them and will do anything to help be part of that bigger picture and help them have success. And when I look at our leadership team, it is just absolutely filled with those kind of people that never talk about themselves. They talk about what their teams and their people and what they've done. And I know that it pays because you see it, right? In our company's success, because those are the kind of people that are leading our organization.
Well, thank you so much, Ray. It's really been fun to learn from you today. It's clear you are a good leader who radiates goodness, and we can see why all the employee owners of Burns & McDonnell are proud and successful. We know some of those people right here in Minnesota, and that is very true.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ray. Yeah, I know, hearing you talk about Burns & McDonnell makes me want to work at Burns & McDonnell. It's really inspiring. So before we leave, let's introduce the one question leadership survey for the next breakfast on May 28th. The question is, the members of my team are aligned and speak positively about our vision and plan, yes or no? So you can answer right now in the poll, and we'll also post this question on our LinkedIn for you to answer and share until Friday, May 28th, when our speaker will be Megan Remark, CEO of Regents Hospital. This will be her second appearance as a speaker at this breakfast, and I'm really excited. I'm excited to hear Megan, and I'm excited to see all of you then on May 28th. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, well, Chloe, thank you. We really appreciate your leadership from New York City. And, you know, I was really captivated by something you told me when we did our interview, Ray. You said that part of the culture at Burns & Mac is that people run to the fire. And that's kind of a cultural mantra for you. So to understand goodness is to embrace a bias that we have for helping other people in any circumstances, like run to the fire. So to close today's breakfast, I'm just going to reframe the word fire as the assault on our culture over the past year. That includes the pandemic and the anger around racial injustice, which everyone's seen Minneapolis on the news over the last week or so. So for many of us, being told we had to work from home and canceling travel plans and social events, that was the extent of our hardship. Running to the fire in that situation was learning to embrace and make the best of the isolation. For those of us who didn't get sick during the pandemic, we'll likely get over the trauma of this last year relatively soon. But there were others, particularly those who work in hospitals, who literally ran to the fire in ways that were not optional. They couldn't work from home, and they held the hands of the people who died from COVID. Their recovery will be much more complicated. Our speaker next month, Megan Remark, will share some of the intimate details of how she led Regents Hospital by running to the fire. Regents is the center of the wheel in a very racially diverse community in St. Paul, Minnesota, just across the river from here. Her hospital was filled to capacity during the pandemic, and some of the violence-related injuries surrounding the deaths of George Floyd and Daunte Wright literally spilled into her workplace through the doors of the emergency department. So next month, when Megan makes her second appearance as a speaker at the breakfast, I'm looking forward to hearing how her sense of identity, purpose, and her hopes for the future have been shaped by running to the fire over the past 15 months. We have so much to learn from her, both personally and professionally, about teamwork, about resilience, about basic goodness. So before I sign off today, it's important that we at Good Leadership express our gratitude for leaders like Ray Kowalik, and for sponsors like Old National Bank and Twin Cities Orthopedics, and specifically today, Lockton. Through your encouragement, we've continued to research the business benefits of how goodness pays and experiment with innovative coaching tools and systems to help executive teams thrive together. Let's all make the promise to be good leaders who radiate goodness today and every day, because the world needs us to spread goodness, because goodness pays. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on May 28th.